Commander Park Ji-ho stared at the flickering holographic display in the Terran Defense Command Center. The blue light cast strange shadows across his weathered face as an alien voice crackled through the speakers. The creature on the screen looked like living crystal, its faceted body catching the light as it spoke in broken human language. Your world. It lies in the path. The devourers come. We cannot stop them. The crystalline being's voice carried a terror that made Ji-ho's skin crawl. In his 20 years of military service, he had never heard such raw fear from any species, let alone from the Zephyrians, who were known across the galaxy for their calm wisdom. Lieutenant Kim Murray spun around from her tactical station, her usually steady hands trembling as she gripped her control pad. Sir, we're receiving similar distress calls from 17 different species. They're all saying the same thing. Ji-ho walked closer to the main display where star charts showed the current positions of fleeing alien fleets. Red dots marked abandoned homeworlds, while blue lines traced the paths of refugee ships, all heading in the same direction. The pattern was clear and terrifying. Every major civilization from the Outer Rim was running toward the galactic core, leaving behind worlds they had called home for thousands of years. Show me Earth's position, Ji-ho ordered. The display zoomed in, and Ji-ho felt his stomach drop. Earth sat directly in the middle of the main escape route, the planet that most alien species had dismissed as a backwater. World filled with primitive humans was now the most important location in the galaxy. How long do we have? Ji-ho asked. Though he dreaded the answer, Murray's fingers flew across her controls as she ran calculations. Based on their current trajectory and the speed the devourers are consuming systems, approximately 4 months before they reach our outer colonies. 6 months before they reach Earth itself. The command center doors burst open, and Dr. Lee. Hannah rushed in, clutching her research tablet against her chest. Her lab coat was wrinkled and her hair was messy from working without sleep for days. Commander, I've been analyzing all the refugee data we've received. These devourers aren't just conquering planets like normal invaders. She connected her tablet to the main display, and horrifying images filled the screen. Where star systems once existed, there was now only empty space, not destroyed planets or dead suns, but complete voids where matter itself seemed to have vanished. They're literally consuming entire star systems, Hannah continued, her voice shaking. Matter, energy, even the stars themselves. They break everything down to its basic components and absorb it. It's like they're eating the universe itself. Ji-ho studied the images in silence. Had seen war before, had witnessed the destruction that advanced weapons could cause. But this was something else entirely. This was the systematic consumption of all existence. The refugee ships, Murray said quietly, they're not just running from an enemy. They're running from oblivion. More alien transmissions came through. The communication array. The insectoid Corvins, speaking in rapid clicks through their translators. The energy-based Luminari, their voices like singing electricity. The massive rock-like granite clans, whose words rumbled like earthquakes. All of them carried the same message of desperate flight. Ji-ho looked at the endless stream of fleeing alien. Vessels shone on the tactical display. Ships of every size and design, some as small as fighters, others as large as cities. Millions of beings from dozens of species, all fleeing through human space because Earth happened to be positioned along their escape route. Sir, Murray said, we're getting requests for safe passage from the refugee fleets. They want to know if they can refuel and resupply in our systems. Grant them all safe passage, Ji-ho said without hesitation. Send word to all human colonies and space stations. Help every refugee ship that needs assistance. Dr. Hannah looked up from her tablet. Commander, there's something else. According to the data, every species that has tried to fight the Devourers has failed. The Corvin Empire had weapons that could destroy planets. The Zephyrians could manipulate energy itself. The Voidwalkers could bend space and time. None of it mattered. The weight of her words settled over the command center like a heavy blanket. If civilizations far more advanced than humanity had failed to stop the Devourers, what chance did Earth have? And we're not just defending Earth, Ji-ho said quietly, watching the stream of refugee ships on the display. We're defending everyone's escape route. If the Devourers break through human space, they'll catch all these fleeing ships before they reach the galactic core. Lieutenant Murray checked her displays again. Refugees are saying there are ancient barriers near the galactic core structures. Left by some long-dead civilization, if they can reach those barriers, they might be safe. Might be, Jiho repeated. But they have to get there first. The realization hit everyone in the command center at the same time. Humanity had not chosen to become the galaxy's defenders. Fate had placed them in the path of an unstoppable force, making them the only thing standing between countless alien civilizations and complete extinction. Jiho looked around at his officers, seeing the same understanding in their eyes. Whether they were ready or not, humanity had become the galaxy's last line of defense. Admiral Choi Soon pressed his hands against the cold metal railing of the observation deck, watching the endless parade of alien ships drift past the orbital defense platform. The massive viewing window stretched from floor to ceiling, giving him a perfect view of humanity's first real contact with the wider galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since Commander Park Jiho first received the distress calls. The stream of refugee vessels showed no signs of slowing down. Each ship told a story of loss. Sleek silver vessels of the Zephyrians moved like liquid mercury through space, their crystalline crews visible through transparent hulls. Massive Corvin hive ships lumbered past, their dark metal surfaces crawling with insectoid figures. Stranger ships defied easy description, built by species whose very existence challenged human understanding of life itself.
The Corvin delegation
"Is here to see you, Admiral," announced Captain Yundeho, his aide, stepping onto the observation deck. His voice carried the exhaustion that had become common among all human personnel. None of them had slept properly in weeks. SEUNG turned away from the window and walked to the conference room, where 3 Corvin representatives waited. The insectoids stood nearly 7 feet tall, their 6 legs clicking rhythmically against the metal floor. Their compound eyes reflected the room's lights like black mirrors, and their chitinous exoskeletons gleamed with an oily sheen. The lead Corvan's translator device, small metal disc attached to its throat, hummed to life with electronic static. "Admiral Choi, we offer quantum pulse weaponry in exchange for safe passage through your systems." Before Sung could respond, Dr. Song Ariam spoke up from her position at the xenobiology station. She had been working non-stop to catalog the technologies being offered by various refugee species, and the Hive Singers have sent biological adaptation protocols through our communication channels. They claim their genetic modifications can enhance human reflexes by 300%. Sung studied the Corvin delegation carefully. These were not the actions of conquering aliens or even desperate beggars. These creatures were making calculated trades, offering their most advanced technologies in exchange for something humanity could provide. "What do you want in return?" Sung asked the Corvin leader. The translator device crackled before producing words in flat mechanical human speech. "Time. We need time to reach the galactic core barriers, and the ancient structures there can withstand the Devourers, but we must reach them first." Over the following days, similar meetings took place in conference rooms throughout the orbital platform. Zephyrians, beings of pure crystallized energy, offered their advanced energy shield technology. They demonstrated how their shields could absorb and redirect energy attacks, creating protective barriers that seemed to bend light itself. The Molten Collective, creatures that looked like living lava contained in metallic suits, brought plans for plasma forges that could create weapons from raw stellar material. Their technology could turn space debris into ammunition and asteroid fields into weapons factories. The Voidwalkers were perhaps the strangest visitors. They appeared as shifting shadows that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. Through complex translation devices, they offered gravity manipulation techniques that could turn planets into weapons or create artificial black holes for defense. Each species brought something valuable, something that could potentially help humanity fight the approaching Devourers. But as Captain Bae Minho discovered during his diplomatic meetings, every conversation followed the same pattern. "They're not asking us to win," Admiral Minho reported during the evening briefing. He looked tired and frustrated after days of negotiations. They're asking us to die slowly enough that they can escape. The conference room fell silent as the implications sank in. Dr. Songarium looked up from her data tablets, her face pale. Every species that's offered us technology has also shared their combat records against the Devourers. None of them lasted more than a few months. The Corvin Empire had quantum weapons that could destroy moons. Added Lieutenant Colonel Park Jinsu from the Military Analysis Division. The Zephyrians could manipulate the energy output of entire stars. The Voidwalkers could create gravitational anomalies that bent space itself. None of it mattered. Sung walked back to the observation window, watching more refugee ships pass by in the darkness. Each vessel represented thousands or millions of beings who had abandoned everything they knew. Their homeworlds were gone, consumed by an enemy that had never been defeated. The ancient barriers at the galactic core, Sung said without turning around. Do we know anything about them? Dr. Songarium consulted her notes. According to refugee reports, they're structures left by a civilization that disappeared millions of years ago, some kind of energy field that the Devourers cannot penetrate or consume. The barriers only protect a small area around the galactic center. And if the Devourers break through human space before the refugees reach those barriers, then every fleeing ship gets caught in open space. Captain Yoon, Deho said quietly. Millions of beings from dozens of species all consumed. Sung stared out at the stars, knowing that in a few months, those same points of light would be consumed by an enemy that had devoured half the galaxy. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him like a physical force. Humanity had not asked for this role, but circumstances had made them the guardians of the galaxy's last hope. Then we need to find a third option, he said, his breath fogging the cold window. Because I refuse to accept that our only choices are victory or a glorious death. Dr. Ko Guan stood in the center of the massive research facility, surrounded by holographic displays that filled the air around her like glowing ghosts. The screens showed technological blueprints, alien genetic codes, and weapon specifications. From 17 different civilizations, for the past 2 weeks, the greatest scientific minds from Earth and the refugee species had worked together in this underground complex. Searching desperately for a way to stop the unstoppable, the smell of coffee and alien nutrients filled the recycled air as humans and aliens worked side by side. Crystalline Zephyrians hummed with electronic frequencies while sharing their energy manipulation techniques. Insectoid Corvins clicked and chittered as they demonstrated quantum weapon designs. The strange shadow-like Voidwalkers phased in and out of visible space as they explained gravity control methods. The answer isn't in their individual technologies. Guan announced to the assembled council of military leaders, scientists, and alien representatives. Her voice echoed in the large briefing chamber carved deep beneath the Earth's surface. It's an understanding how the Devourers think, gestured to a holographic display showing the mechanical creatures that had consumed half the galaxy. The Devourers looked like geometric nightmares, their bodies made of dark metal and pulsing energy. They moved through space like living equations, calculating and consuming with mechanical precision. The Devourers process efficiency calculations. Before consuming each system, Guan explained, highlighting data streams that refugee ships had managed to record during their escapes. Every time they encounter resistance, they measure the energy cost of harvesting against the energy they will gain. If the cost becomes too high, they move to easier targets. General Nam Hyok, a grizzled veteran with gray hair and suspicious eyes, leaned forward in his chair. You're suggesting we make ourselves too expensive to eat? Exactly, Juan replied. But not through conventional defense methods like shields or weapons. Those have all failed against the Devourers. We need something completely different. We need transformation. The holographic display changed, showing Jiwan's revolutionary proposal. The images were shocking and beautiful at the same time. Human figures merged with alien technologies at the cellular level, their bodies enhanced and changed in ways that made them barely recognizable as the species they once were. We merge with alien technology at the biological level, Jiwan continued, her voice growing more excited as she explained her vision. We turn our colonies into living fortresses. Human volunteers would undergo irreversible cybernetic enhancement, becoming hybrid warriors capable of regenerating from fatal wounds and adapting to any attack during battle. Dr. An Sujin, a thin woman with sharp eyes who specialized in alien psychology, stood up from her seat. The psychological profiles we've gathered from refugee testimonies show something important about the Devourers. They cannot understand sacrifice without strategic purpose. They are machines, cold and calculating. They don't comprehend the concept of fighting for others or dying for a cause. The room buzzed with nervous energy as the implications became clear. Captain Lee Minseok, representing the outer colony worlds, rose slowly from his chair. His weathered face showed the strain of the past weeks, but his eyes burned with determination. "How many volunteers would we need for this transformation?" he asked. G1 looked directly at him, her expression grave. "Everyone. Every human in the outer colonies would need to undergo enhancement. We're not building an army to fight alongside our regular forces. We're becoming the army itself." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the alien representatives stopped their various forms of communication as the magnitude of the proposals sank in. They weren't just talking about fighting the Devourers with new weapons or better tactics. They were talking about fundamentally changing what it meant to be human. The transformation process would be irreversible. Humans who underwent the enhancement would never be able to return to their original forms. They would become something new, something that had never existed before in the galaxy. Part human, part alien technology, part living weapon. The process involves merging human neural networks with Zephyrian energy manipulation, Quan explained, showing detailed medical diagrams. Corvin quantum enhancement would be integrated into our bone structure. Voidwalker gravity control would be woven into our nervous systems. Each enhanced human would become a living fortress, capable of regenerating from injuries that would kill normal humans and adapting to attacks in real time. General Nam Hyok shook his head slowly. "You're asking people to give up their humanity to save humanity."
No.
Captain Minseok said quietly, his voice cutting through the tension in the room. "She's asking us to evolve our humanity to save everyone else." He stood up straighter, his military bearing evident despite his exhaustion. "I'll be the first volunteer." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Around the room, other military officers began to nod. Scientists who had been working with alien technologies for weeks looked at each other with growing resolve. Some of the alien representatives showed signs of approval through their various forms of expression. Within the first hour after Minseok's declaration, volunteer lists from across human space began flooding the communication network's colony. Governors sent messages offering their entire populations for enhancement. Space station commanders volunteered their crews. Even civilian researchers and doctors stepped forward, ready to become something more than human to give the galaxy a chance at survival. Dr. Guan watched the volunteer numbers climb on her displays, feeling a mixture of pride and terror. Humanity had made its choice. They would transform themselves into something the galaxy had never seen before, becoming the wall that would hold back the darkness. Commander Jin Seora gripped the controls of her fighter as waves of quantum energy flowed through her enhanced nervous system. The sensation was unlike anything a normal human could experience. Her reflexes had been boosted far beyond natural limits, and her consciousness was directly linked to her ship's systems. She could feel every weapon, every shield generator, every sensor as if they were part of her own body. Behind her, the fortress world of New Busan glowed with an eerie blue light. The planet's surface was covered with defensive structures that pulsed with alien energy. Massive shield generators created by Zephyrian technology formed protective domes over major cities. Corvin quantum weapons emerged from underground bunkers like mechanical flowers opening to the sun. The entire world had been transformed into a living weapon, ready to make the Devourers pay dearly for every inch of ground. "All units, remember?" The objective Seora broadcast to her squadron of enhanced pilots. Her voice carried across multiple communication frequencies, reaching fighters scattered across the solar system. "We're not here to destroy them. We're here to cost them more than they can afford." The words felt strange coming from her modified throat. Her vocal cords had been enhanced with hive singer biology, allowing her to communicate on multiple frequencies. Simultaneously, like every enhanced human, She was no longer entirely the species she had been born as. The Devourers emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare made real. Their ships defied easy description. Geometric forms that seemed to twist. Space around them. Dark metal surfaces reflected no light, while pulsing energy cores cast everything in sickly green hues. The fleet numbered in the thousands, each vessel calculating and measuring as they approached the human defensive line. But instead of the quick conquest they had grown accustomed to, the Devourers found something they had never encountered before. Human defenders who refused to break, who adapted to every attack, who became stronger with each assault. Sayora dove her fighter into the enemy formation, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to dodge energy beams that would have vaporized a normal pilot. When one of the Devourer's ships fired a gravity weapon at her, her Voidwalker enhancements automatically adjusted her ship's mass, letting her slip through the gravitational distortion like water through a net, down on the surface of New Busan. The ground battle was even more intense. Captain Oh Tae-young led his enhanced soldiers through the burning streets, his body moving with inhuman grace, despite the wounds that covered him from head to toe. A Devourer energy blast had torn through his chest, but the Hivesinger biology, woven into his cells, was already regenerating the damaged tissue. They keep calculating engagement costs, Tae-young reported over the communication network, his voice strained but determined. Every time we force them to expend more resources than they expected, they paused to recalculate their strategy. The enhanced humans had discovered something that no other species had realized during their battles with the Devourers. The mechanical minds were not just calculating military victory, but economic efficiency. Every weapon fired, every ship deployed, every minute spent in battle had to provide a net gain in resources. If the cost became too high, the Devourers would seek easier targets. The battle raged for days, then weeks. Human defenders fought with a tenacity that the mechanical minds could not comprehend. They did not fight to achieve military victory, in any traditional sense. They fought to be unprofitable, to make themselves too expensive for the Devourers to harvest. When Devourer ground forces landed on New Seoul, they found Captain Park Won-ho waiting with his enhanced battalion. His soldiers had been merged with molten collective technology, their bodies capable of withstanding temperatures that would melt steel. As the enemy advanced through the city, the humans melted the buildings around them, turning the urban landscape into a flowing river of molten metal that trapped and destroyed Devourer machines. Each engagement is costing them more energy than they're gaining from our resistance, Park reported as his forces fell back to prepared positions. They're starting to question whether conquering our worlds is worth the expenditure. Back on Earth, Dr. Im Soo-yang monitored the battle from the enhanced command center buried deep beneath the planet's surface. Her consciousness was linked to sensors throughout human space, allowing her to track Devourer behavioral patterns in real time. The data streams flowing through her enhanced mind painted a picture that filled her with cautious hope. "It's working," she announced to the assembled command staff. "You're starting to root around our fortress worlds instead of attacking them directly. Cost-benefit analysis is tipping in our favor." But the victory came at a terrible price. Each enhanced human who fell in battle was gone forever. Their consciousness merged so completely with alien technology that traditional concepts of death and life no longer applied. When Captain Kim Hoon-soo died defending a shield generator on New Busan, his consciousness simply merged with the planet's defensive network, becoming part of the living fortress itself. The enhanced humans understood that this was their fate. They were no longer individuals in the way they had once been. They were parts of a larger organism, a living wall that stretched across multiple star systems. Each death made the wall stronger. Each sacrifice added to the collective defense. As the weeks passed, more Devourer fleets arrived to test the human defenses. But each time they found the same result. Humans cost more to defeat than they were worth to consume. Slowly, reluctantly, the mechanical minds began to seek easier prey elsewhere. Still, the wall held, and behind it, the refugee fleets continued their journey toward the safety of the galactic core. Admiral Park Yoon-bi no longer moved through the command center like a normal human being. Her consciousness flowed through the enhanced neural networks that connected her directly to the defense grid, spanning 12 solar systems. When she walked, sparks of blue energy danced along her skin, and her eyes glowed with the same light that powered the massive orbital weapons platforms circling Earth. 6 months had passed since the first Devourer assault, and the transformation of humanity was complete. The command center itself had grown around her like a living organism, its walls pulsing with organic circuits that responded to her thoughts. Computer screens were no longer necessary when information flowed directly into her mind through quantum pathways. "Report from the core worlds," announced Captain Shin Jae-won, his voice carrying strange musical harmonics that came from his Zephyrian enhancement. Sound itself had become more complex for the enhanced humans, carrying layers of meaning that normal ears could never detect. I felt a wave of satisfaction flow through the collective consciousness of the defense network. The refugee fleets had made it safely to the galactic core, where ancient barriers left by a long-dead civilization provided protection from the Devourers. Millions of beings from dozens of species were now establishing new colonies in the safety of the core worlds. The Corvin Queen's report successful establishment of 3 new hive worlds, Jae-won continued, his enhanced vocal cords producing clicks and harmonics that would have been impossible for an unmodified human throat. The Zephyrians have constructed energy cities in the barrier zone. Even the Voidwalkers have found stable dimensional pockets to call home. For a brief moment, the enhanced humans allowed themselves to feel pride. They had succeeded in their mission. The galaxy's refugees were safe, protected by barriers that even the Devourers could not penetrate. Civilization would continue, even if it had to start over in a smaller space. But their celebration was cut short when Lieutenant Han Yuji's enhanced senses detected something that made the quantum networks throughout human space freeze with terror.
"All right, ma'am,"
Yuji whispered, her voice carrying tremors that resonated through the collective consciousness. "We're detecting massive movement beyond the galactic rim. The Devourers we fought, they were just the first wave." The sensation that flowed through Yunbi's enhanced neural pathways was like ice water flooding her veins. Through the quantum link that connected her to sensors scattered across human space, she could sense the approaching darkness. Dozens of Devourer fleets were moving toward the galaxy from the empty void between star clusters, each one larger than the force humanity had barely managed to repel. The main fleet was so massive that it bent space around itself, creating gravitational distortions visible from light years away. Where the first Devourer assault had numbered in the thousands of ships, this approaching armada counted its vessels in the hundreds of thousands. They moved through space like a mechanical plague, consuming everything in their path as they traveled toward the galaxy's outer rim. Emergency communications began flooding in from the core worlds as their long-range sensors detected the same horrifying truth. The alien civilizations that had found safety behind the ancient barriers sent desperate messages offering to evacuate human survivors to join them in the protected zone. Admiral Captain Jae-won said, his enhanced voice heavy with emotion, "The Zephyrian Council is offering immediate evacuation for any humans who wish to retreat to the core. The Corvin Queens are providing transport ships. Even the Voidwalkers are opening dimensional gateways." But UNB already knew humanity's answer before the question was fully asked. Through the quantum network, she could feel the collective will of every enhanced human across 12 solar systems. They had found their purpose in the galaxy, and they would not abandon it. "Send a reply to all core worlds," she commanded, her voice carrying across every communication frequency simultaneously. "Tell them the wall holds. Live well." The message traveled through subspace faster than light itself, reaching the refugee civilizations within minutes. The response came back just as quickly, filled with gratitude, sorrow, and admiration. The aliens understood what humanity was choosing to do. Across human space, the fortress worlds began their final transformation. The enhanced humans, who had once been soldiers and scientists and civilians, merged even more completely with their planets and space stations. On New Busan, Captain Oh Tae-young's consciousness flowed into the planetary defense grid, his thoughts becoming part of the living weapons that protected the world. On New Seoul, the enhanced defenders became one with the cities themselves, their bodies serving as neural pathways for massive defensive systems. Captain Ru Dongmin, who had once been a simple colony administrator before his enhancement, now spoke for the collective consciousness of all enhanced humans. His voice transmitted across every frequency, reaching from the innermost core worlds to the darkest edges of human space. "We stand watch," he said, his words carrying the weight of humanity's final choice. "We always will." The enhanced humans no longer thought of themselves as individuals trying to survive. They had become something greater, a living barrier between civilization and the endless dark. They were no longer fully human, but they carried within them everything that humanity had ever been: courage, sacrifice, and the determination to protect others even at the cost of their own existence. As the massive Devourer fleet approached from beyond the galactic rim, the wall of enhanced humanity prepared for an eternal siege. They would hold the line not for months or years, but for as long as consciousness itself endured. Behind them, the refugee civilizations would have time to grow, to rebuild, to become something new and better. The wall would hold, because humanity had chosen to make it so.